Coming up on The Daily with me, Neil Paterson. Why is Elon Musk antagonising Europe's politicians? Stay tuned to find out. Nigel Farage is unfit to lead his party. The Lib Dems' Sarah Davy is a snivelling cretin. Sir Keir Starmer actively covered up the abuse of children. And his safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips, is a rape genocide apologist who deserves to be in prison. Now, look, as I hear the sound of pitchforks being sharpened, I should point out these are clearly not my views, instead those of Elon Musk, views he's been merrily tweeting since Christmas. So what on earth's he up to? Sky's deputy political editor, Sam Coates, is here to explain. Look, Sam, like all normal people, I switched off the news over Christmas. So can you bring us up to date? What exactly has Elon Musk been up to the past couple of weeks?
To be honest, he's been playing with his toy. Not a toy that he got for Christmas, but a toy that he got some months ago, which is X, formerly known as Twitter, and using the 200 million people that he has following him on that to spray views about not quite pretty much anything, but a wide range of things about global politics and especially, it seems, stuff about what's going on here in the UK. Now, on I think the 1st of January or the 2nd of January, it surfaced, courtesy of GB News, a letter from Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister in Keir Starmer's government, saying that she was not minded to hold a big national public inquiry into grooming gangs and what happened in the 2000s and the 2010s, predominantly involving men of Pakistani heritage and young girls who were raped. Elon Musk jumped on this and has amplified it and helped turn it pretty much into the biggest story of the new year.
And we should probably recall that this is not the first time and will not be the last that Elon Musk intervenes in domestic politics in this country. I mean, he was active again, and you can perhaps notice something of a theme here, around about the time of the riots that took place last summer.
Yeah. Once upon a time, Elon Musk used to get on with British leaders. Most notably, just over a year ago, he sat down with Rishi Sunak, then Prime Minister, in central London.
I remember. That was the AI conference.
Exactly. At the end of the day of the AI conference, Rishi Sunak actually interviewed Elon Musk for what, and I was in the audience, was a sort of free-floating discussion about AI tech and the role of technology in the coming years. Elon Musk is notably quite close to Tony Blair. Tony Blair is said to have Mr. Musk on his speed dial. But relations between the richest man in the world and British political leaders has gone very quickly south since the summer. In the aftermath of the riot, Elon Musk took to his own platform to really push the idea that the police were dealing more harshly with critics of the government than it was with other types of criminals. This is an argument that Nigel Farage and his party were also putting about, and there was rather a kind of, symbiosis working together between those two forces to sort of inject that idea. In the last few weeks, the sort of ideas of reform have again moulded with Elon Musk's approach when it comes to grooming gangs and whether or not there was a cover-up by the establishment. Although Elon Musk, in a sort of fit of New Year peak, appears to have fallen out with Nigel Farage, calling for him to go on Sunday after Nigel Farage sort of repudiated gently the idea that Tommy Robinson, the jailed far-right leader, should be part of the conversation and should be involved in the UK conversation about what happens with grooming gangs. The two have fallen out over that, but even now, Elon Musk concentrating his fire on Labour, on Keir Starmer, on Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister. Message after message after message. I mean, I woke up this morning at about 5 a.m. and there were probably a dozen different messages about UK politics alone, calling for the ousting of Ed Davey, the Liberal Democrat leader.
Yeah, called him a snivelling cretin, I believe.
Exactly. Calling Starmer slippery, calling him evil. The approach of somebody without any sense of self-control or anyone else controlling him, so unusual, not just for a businessman of his stature and success, but also very, very unusual for somebody about to play a role in government. And that's, I think, what gives what he's doing greater gravity and injects yet more uncertainty.
Okay, Sam, so that's the situation domestically, but there are leaders in other countries, particularly around Europe, that are also sharing some of Sir Keir Starmer's concerns.
In Germany, Elon Musk on Thursday is holding a webinar with the head of the extreme right AfD party, and that is causing a lot of concern in Germany, but also more broadly in the EU. President Macron, he says that he's interfering in democracies. The Prime Minister of Norway has done the same. European commissioners have weighed in about the way that Elon Musk, who in 13 days' time will be a bit part player in Donald Trump's second administration, has been spraying around his views. So wherever you go in the globe, it seems that either Donald Trump or his top amigo, Elon Musk, are expressing their views, getting stuck in, trying to shape the conversation and, in Britain's case, shape our political parties in an extraordinary way that I can't remember happening at any point in the last 20-odd years.
Do you detect that Europe is on a collision course then with Elon Musk rather than with Elon Musk in his role in the White House?
I think so. We've seen a change of approach in the last 36 hours. Until now, broadly speaking, party leaders, prime ministers, presidents have avoided getting dragged in directly to rebutting Elon Musk's pronouncements about this or that. But I feel like in the last few days, we've sort of reached a tipping point where I don't think it's coordinated, but you are seeing a sort of a pushback at somebody who has a great deal of power. And what's interesting, Neil, is that quite clearly politicians are nervous. I mean, what other explanation is there for the fact that Keir Starmer, yes, engaged with Elon Musk's argument, but declined to address him by name when he talked about some of the subjects to do with grooming scams and Elon Musk's criticism of Jess Phillips? It's almost like he's trying to sort of tread a fine line. Until this point, there's been a desire to avoid a direct one-on-one slanging match because they are nervous about somebody who is intemperate. I think we can say that from his social media output. Somebody who is powerful, somebody who has connections, and somebody who can influence millions of people sitting at home in their bedrooms just reading, following, and in many cases believing his arguments. You know, why wouldn't you be careful around somebody who is political nitroglycerin, frankly, who can go off at the tiniest poke with really damaging, potentially, consequences?
Thanks, Sam, and we will be back with him just a little later. But what motivates Elon Musk is just as important as what he's doing.
Whatever reason he would give on paper is benefiting Elon Musk is the headline.
Sarah Manavis is a commentator on culture and technology and finds herself spending a lot of time thinking about just that. So Sarah, in your opinion, where has Elon Musk's newfound interest in global affairs actually come from?
I think in a way, it's not that it's not the right question, but I think an interest in international politics is not actually what's happening here. I think a lot of people are getting into the sort of actual issues that Elon Musk is bringing up, thinking, is he right, is he wrong? But I think that that's taking him at face value, which I don't think anybody should ever do. I think essentially what's going on is that, as we've seen in the last year, Elon Musk has been able to flex his political strength via Twitter, or X, I guess now it is, in the US. And now that he's seen that he can do that successfully, I think what we're seeing now is him starting to pick off foreign governments and see, can I have the same results in the UK, in France, in the EU, et cetera, et cetera. But from what we've seen in the US, I think he's just looking to be able to prioritize Elon Musk at the highest possible level when it comes to regulation, taxing, all these types of things for the benefit of Elon Musk.
It is surely, however, not a coincidence that an awful lot of his advocacy is taking place on the social media platform that he owns, X. I mean, forgive me for being cynical for a second, but couldn't this all just be, trying to make X financially stable by driving more traffic to the site?
I mean, I think that's a knock-on effect. If I had to guess, I do want to emphasize, particularly given how litigious he appears to be, that I don't know what he's doing and nobody really knows exactly why he's doing what he's doing. But I think that that's just a knock-on effect. I mean, we've seen since he took over in October 2022, the company has just tanked and tanked and tanked. I mean, it's predicted that he lost his status as the world's richest man because of how much Twitter's value has gone down. I mean, people are leaving it in droves. And so I don't necessarily think that that's what he's operating with in mind. I think that it is a benefit that he's driving traffic to his site. He's probably driving traffic he wants to that site. I mean, it seems like he wants to make it a place that alienates anybody with a left-wing perspective, or even, realistically, it really benefits those on the right. And so it's driving that kind of traffic. But I think at the end of the day, where X is useful to Elon Musk is not in being a cash cow. it's the political influence it wields. So I think like whether or not it's gaining traffic is kind of just like an added potential benefit. And the real benefit is just getting his name out there and getting his voice out there.
So do we believe that Elon Musk has a political philosophy, a political ideology beyond, as you've already kind of stated, bettering the prospects of one Elon Musk?
I mean, I don't think so. I think that he does have political philosophies, which have also changed over time. I mean, lest we forget that he was actually a major proponent of the Biden administration, and then he wasn't invited to an event at the White House under Joe Biden where a bunch of car companies were invited, and Tesla was very notably left off that list. And then suddenly there was the shift in who he supported. But yeah, I think that whatever is going to be the most beneficial for him is what guides his politics. It's not based on any type of political philosophy. He's not, sitting around reading Marx or Ayn Rand and coming to these conclusions. I think that they're formed based on what is politically expedient in any given moment for him personally.
The motivations may well be opaque, as we've discussed, but we know that the tactic that he employs are effective, aren't they? I mean, didn't he, in essence, tweet himself into being Donald Trump's right-hand man?
I mean, I think that's absolutely true. I think a lot of people, myself included, actually looked at him buying Twitter and thought, oh, I mean, really, to put it really plainly, what a moron. Really thought this is a site that, of the legacy media sites, is it's not doing the worst, but it's certainly the least relevant when you look at Instagram, even Facebook still on some level, and then increasingly TikTok. Why would you buy this website? What is the end game? And for a year, really, it didn't seem to be actually doing much for him beyond putting him in headlines and losing him money. But I mean, everyone has been proved wrong on that front, because I do think that he has been able to essentially tweet his way into the White House. I mean, I do want to add that he was injecting an obscene amount of money into the Trump campaign, and that would have made headlines, probably gotten him quite a lot of brownie points, even if he wasn't also tweeting every waking hour of the day about Trump or Harris or whatever. Or, as it seemed to be, some reports showed that X may have been suppressing pro-Harris Twitter accounts. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, he was able to use that time on Twitter, use literally just tweeting, to be able to get himself really so much political influence and so much political relevance, largely as a result of tweeting rather than just putting his cash in certain places.
But on the topic of political relevance, I mean, is he perhaps overestimating the level of influence that he has outside the United States?
Yeah, I think that it's very easy for the people in these governments to say this isn't influencing us, when what it is influencing is political discourse, which is ultimately what politicians are responding to. I mean, I think the idea that just because a certain politician or a certain government is stood up to Elon Musk and making a statement that Germany as a whole is then sort of insulated from what Elon Musk posts or what's happening in the rest of the world with Elon Musk's influence is kind of a laughable idea. I think that it won't go as far as it has in the US, but I certainly think that he is able to flex that influence in other parts of the world as long as enough people in that part of the world use Twitter.
What then of the accusation, and a pretty broadly made accusation, that Twitter, Elon Musk, have been controlling the algorithm so that those using the site have seen more material emerging from the right than they would ordinarily do? I mean, I should say, of course, that Elon Musk and X would say they do not do this 100%.
I mean, there's been so many studies that have come out in the last 2 years. I mean, the Center for Countering Digital Hate, which is a very reliable organization which tracks hate speech online, has done at least one, if not several, reports on the rise in hate speech on that website since Elon Musk took over. And, and he also is now actively saying, I think it was even today or yesterday, sometime this week, said, we are now going to suppress posts that are vaguely deemed as negative. And we've seen this a lot with what he has done and has been transparent about changing, is changing the way the site functions, making it so you only see verified replies first, making it so you don't see other types of replies, things like that. But the one thing that unites these new rules are that they're things that benefit Elon Musk. The algorithm changes to benefit his experience on Twitter, even if it doesn't really benefit anybody else's, or only benefits people who also sympathize with what Elon Musk sympathizes with. And I think that's the bigger question. I guess he can do whatever he wants, but it's now increasingly like an individual choice about whether or not to condone that, I guess.
Does he perhaps then see himself as something of a unifying, a coalescing figure when it comes to politics on the right, a figurehead behind which disparate strands of right-wing thought can come behind? I mean, he could even turn into that, even if he doesn't see himself becoming that.
I think one thing about Elon Musk that has not changed in the last sort of 10 years of him being this kind of cultural figure is his desperation to be liked by a particular demographic of people. I mean, he was willing to tank his own shares in Tesla. He tweeted saying like, these are now going to be $420 a share, $420 a share, which is like a meme type thing.
It's a reference to smoking marijuana, isn't it, on the 20th
exactly,
of...
yes. And it's these very sort of like, I mean, for lack of a better term, like lame jokes that appeal to a certain very online lame demographic of person who does often identify as like hard right or alt-right is maybe the clearer term here. But yeah, like, I think he's wanted to be that kind of figurehead since day one. And I do think, putting aside like his companies, his personal portfolio, like anything to do with that, I think he really does also have this innate thing where he would love to be that kind of figure for people and beloved in that way. If you look at any other sort of political figure who's seen as slightly fringe, they have that obsessive fandom. And I think he really desperately desires that. So I think that there is this other motivation, incentive for him, which I think is exactly that he wants to be this coalescing figure for these types. And then, of course, wants to make Twitter/X the home of that type of thinking.
Thanks, Sarah. In a moment, Sam Coates is back with how Elon Musk's tweets are shaping the government's strategy for the fast-approaching Trump White House. Stay where you are. Okay, so Sarah's view is that Elon Musk is motivated more by his own ambition than anything else. For the time being, jury out on that one. But with his new best mate Donald Trump's inauguration in less than 2 weeks, he does have to be factored into the way in which the UK deals with the United States. Sam Coates is back. Look, Sam, what have you heard about the UK's diplomatic strategy towards a Trump plus Musk White House?
So at the moment, the government has a sort of two-pronged approach to avoid, where possible, any public criticism of Donald Trump or indeed Elon Musk. They want to try as far as possible to build bridges directly between Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. And I think diplomats will hope to sort of in some way interpose themselves between Musk and Trump. The most obvious way that we're looking to do that the UK is seeking to do that, is by putting Peter Mandelson in the role of British ambassador in Washington. Keir Starmer, not always been a huge fan of Peter Mandelson. I think is sort of betting the house on the idea that Lord Mandelson is a big figure, can act as a sort of Trump whisperer who can beguile and seduce the US president when there's a huge array of issues, foreign policy issues and economic issues on the agenda between our two countries that frankly, Elon Musk, both in his role as head of X and in his government role, doesn't have any locus in.
Sam, look, we've clearly seen a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth in London, Paris, Berlin about Elon Musk and his potential influence on domestic politics. But why shouldn't he? Why is it bad that a man like Elon Musk, one of the richest, if not the richest man in the world, a self-proclaimed genius, who's put billions of dollars and pounds and lira and euros, all the rest of it, into people's pockets over the years, why should he not have more influence over a domestic political process than Mr. Niall Paterson on the Clapham Omnibus?
Look, Neil, I think the story of businessmen using a megaphone and having influence over politicians is as old as time itself. But let's look at the very particular kind of features of Elon Musk. Now, he has the biggest megaphone of all, one of the largest social media platforms on the earth, and one that seems to promote Elon Musk's own personal viewpoint. And that's a viewpoint that, frankly, lots of people like, but lots and lots of people don't like. So I suppose the question there is, what are the similarities and differences between Elon Musk and somebody like Rupert Murdoch? Elon Musk isn't quite as unique as the discussion around him kind of currently implies. There have been other figures who have agendas and use their platforms to advance their views before, who have been treated in large part pretty much part of the mainstream. So it's a little bit more business than usual than some would present. I think what is unusual about Elon Musk is the combination of the platform, the wealth, and the political power outside of government. That's where all of these different things, where the personal, the political, and the geostrategic all get muddled up. And having some of those capabilities in the hands of somebody like him starts to become a little bit more unsettling.
That's your lot for this edition of The Daily. For the very latest on what Elon Musk is up to, don't head to his Twitter account, head to skynews.com. We'll see you again tomorrow.